He woke up 3 days later to find himself in a coffin, and he was surrounded by several men in black clothes. He tried to move his body, but his body was not cooperating with him. This story begins in a small town called Oduke. It was known as the poor people's town. In the small town lived Azubike, a young man of good physical structure and handsomeness. After his secondary education, he left his village to find a good job to make ends meet. His friend Ferdinand had told him a lot about the big city of Lagos and how anyone who came there made it within a short time. Azubike was blinded by what he heard. He gathered his savings and was on his way to Lagos, and Ferdinand was kind enough to accommodate him. But little did he know. With enthusiasm to make money, Azubike began to search for a place to work in the big city. But everywhere he went was either the money they were willing to pay was too small, or they were asking him to do things that stood against his morals. After weeks of searching for a good job but found none, he decided to talk to Ferdinand. "My guy, honestly, I did not see anything in this city. You told me that I would get rich when I come here, but now I still haven't gotten a good job opportunity. Please, where do you work so I can go with you? At least you are doing well for yourself," Azubike said. "See, my friend, I will advise you to continue searching. As for what I do, I can't tell you because you are not strong enough to do it," Ferdinand replied. All efforts made by Azubike for him to spill the details about his job proved futile. Why is Ferdinand being so stingy? I just want to work with him and make money like him, so I can help my family, but he is gatekeeping the details. I am so frustrated about all this. Or should I just take any job I see so I can start working, and from there I will start looking for a better job opportunity? Maybe that is what I will do, Azubike thought. He woke up the next morning to prepare to go out, but he began to feel sick and decided to stay at home. He fell asleep again and was woken by a voice so familiar, but the words that were said with that voice shocked him to the core. "Oh, you mean Azubike?" He had gone out again to look for another job. The fool doesn't know why he is here. Then came a laughing sound. Yes, the ritualist told me that he had 2 clients that wanted to buy a kidney, and the money is big that I can't afford to miss. So I told him to come from the village so he can work here. I will take him there tomorrow and secure my 20 million pa, he said, laughing. Ferdinand was talking to someone on the phone, not knowing that Azubike had already heard all he had said. So Ferdinand is a killer. No wonder he didn't mind feeding and accommodating me for weeks without complaining. Because he knew he would use me for some evil plans. Immediately, Azubike packed a few of his clothes and ran out of the house without looking back. His heart beat fast with all the adrenaline rushing through his body. He stopped when he knew he had gone far enough and he was surrounded by people. He sat on the roadside to rest, and then the conversation that he heard from Ferdinand came afresh to him. What do I do now? I don't have any money on me, and I don't even have a place to stay, he lamented. He really wanted to go back to the village, but he knew it was impossible. He walked a long distance until he saw a building site. "Half bread is better than none," he said as he entered and started to work with them. He worked throughout the day and was only paid 2,000 naira. Azubike looked at the money with a sullen expression. All his body ached from the lifting of heavy materials, and he was rewarded with so little. He looked for a place to eat, and he was left with 1,500 naira. He found a small hotel and asked how much he would have to pay for the night, and they told him 5,000 naira. Azubike turned back and went to sleep under the bridge. There were so many people there too, so he was not the only homeless one. Ferdinand waited for Azubike to return from his job hunt, but he did not return. He became worried. He could not help but have a bad feeling about things. Just a few hours before the organ harvest, Azubike was nowhere to be found, and he could not reach him because he did not have a phone. Ferdinand decided to check in the guest room and found that even his clothes were gone. He swore as he said the F word repeatedly. Azubike continued the daily job, but deep down he wanted more. It was like there was no good work for an O-level holder like him. This time, Azubike was ready to do anything at all, as far as he could live well. But where will I start, he asked himself. Who will help me, he thought. One evening, Azubike was walking towards the bridge where he slept when a man in his late 50s called him. He stood beside a black Range Rover and he was dressed in really expensive clothes. Azubike did not think twice before approaching the man. But in the back of his mind, he wondered why an affluent man like him would want anything to do with him. Good evening, sir, Azubike greeted. Good evening, son. I am High Chief Agunze. You must be wondering why I called you. Anyways, I have been watching you for some time now, and you have caught my fancy. You are just the right person for this job, he said. Job? Sir, I can do anything. Anything at all, Azubike said. I know. That's why I need you to come to my house tomorrow so we can talk in private. This is not a good place to discuss things like this, the man said, giving him his address and phone number and even some money. Thank you, sir, Azubike said, smiling. The man then entered his car and drove off. Azubike was overjoyed. The man had given him 50,000 naira, and after weeks of sleeping under the bridge, Azubike was able to pay for a hotel room where he had a sound sleep. Azubike, wanting to make a good impression, bought some cheap new clothes that he wore to the chief's house. On getting to the address, his mouth formed an O. It was a mansion with trees and beautiful flowers. It was magnificent. He walked into the building and saw the security man, who asked him about his name, and once he was told, the security man took him inside because the chief had already informed him. When he went inside, he could not help but look around the house in wonder. God, when, he said within himself. He was taken to the chief's study. When he entered, the chief had a smile on his face. Nice to see you again, Azubike, said the chief. The pleasure is all mine, sir, Azubike smiled. He was then offered a seat. Before we talk, would you like to eat or drink anything? Asked the chief. I already ate something, sir, but maybe before I leave, he replied. All right, so let's not waste any of our time. You have seen my house, and I know you want something like this. I can make it happen for you, the chief said. Thank you, sir, for choosing me. I really want to be rich and popular, he said. Now you are talking. But to achieve this, you must pay the price with dedication and wellness. Are you ready? Chief asked. Yes, sir, I am willing, he replied. Okay then, the chief smiled as he clapped his hands twice and a maid walked inside carrying a tray with 2 glasses of wine. She gave one to the chief and one to Azubike. They cheered and drank. The wine tasted strange but sweet, Azubike imagined. Welcome to the wealthy brother's court, Chief said as he laughed like a maniac. Azubike could not process all this, and he fainted before he could utter a word. He woke up 3 days later to find himself in a coffin, and he was surrounded by several men in black clothes. He tried to move his body, but his body was not cooperating with him. He wanted to say something, but his voice failed him. How did I get here, he thought. No need to struggle. You are undergoing fortification, and then you will be a qualified member, said the chief. It happened that the chief was the Grand Master of the wealthy court. He would go out and look for young naive boys, and he would lure them into his den. He would use money to deceive them, asking them if they wanted to be rich like him, and then the naive ones who were not attentive enough to ask what the job was like would agree immediately and were initiated against their will or with their consent. Some intelligent ones were able to escape his trap, while the others fell into it. He blew a white powder on him, and sleep took over him again, only to wake up 7 days later with a certain strange energy around him. He could now move his body. He stood up, and then he could have a good look at the room. It was pure black and red. It reeks of evil. You are welcome, Azubike. You are now a full-fledged member, Chief smiled. Chief, what is this all about? Azubike asked with panic in his voice. You want to be rich, and now you have gotten the opportunity to be one of the richest men in this country, said the chief. But how? He asked. I will introduce you to our members. This is Sani. He owns chains of food restaurants. This is Adejumo. He is an importer and exporter. The chief said as he introduced each of them. They all have different roles to play in this cult. And as our newest member, we have given you the greatest task of all. You will be a pastor. As the great god Ikedi had blessed you with a vision to prophesy and a hand of healing. You will bring the souls of your members to Ikedi whenever he requires. You will bring us blood, destinies, stars and good luck, from which it will now belong to us, the chief said with finality. Azubike was trembling with fear. No, I cannot do that, he said. You don't have a choice. Now, if you leave, you die. The ball is in your court, said the chief, and all the members nodded in agreement. Azubike thought long and deep. There is no turning back. I better enjoy my life in wealth rather than die a useless death. Okay, chief, I accept, he said. Good decision. Your assignment starts in a week's time, and remember, you must never pray in the name of God. You will pray in the name of my master or my father. The day you make a mistake, I cannot tell you what will happen. You will be assigned a house and 2 cars later today, said the chief as he stood saying their praises to their great gods Ikedi. Later that day, Azubike was taken to a big house with 2 big cars parked in the garage. He was in awe. Wow, my life has changed for the better. He laughed heartily He showed himself around and thought of bringing his parents to stay with him. But what will he tell them that he did to get the money for such a big house? He preferred to send them money from time to time for their upkeep. Azubike, now a wealthy man, partied all week while sleeping with different girls that caught his fancy. As soon as it was Saturday, the chief called him to get ready for his first sermon. "Chief, don't you think I need someone to teach me and lead me?" he asked. "You don't need anything of such. Ikedi will direct you," he said. Azubike went out and bought himself different colors of suits and shoes and even gave himself a nice haircut. On Sunday morning, he was filled with a certain aura and confidence. When he entered the church, he was surprised to see a huge crowd gathered in the congregation. They clapped as they saw him. How did they even pull this off, he thought. It happened that the chief had a friend who was a pastor from another cult. He had a big church, and because he wanted to bring an audience to Azubike, he decided to ask his friend to allow Azubike to be a guest pastor for the Sunday. As he took the mic, it was as though his body was taken over by Ikedi. He began to sing and dance, and the crowd immediately matched his energy. Soon he was prophesying. "Young man in a blue shirt, I see you in a mechanic shop, and I see you struggling." The young man walked out with a shocked expression on his face. "Yes, sir," he agreed. "I see your mother crying in a grave," he said again. "Yes, sir, it's my father's grave. He died early this year." "Hey, prophesy!" cheered the crowd. "My master, whom I serve, wants to clean your sweat. He wants to wipe the tears of your family. Come to the altar and kneel," he said. The young man, excited for deliverance, walked and knelt on the altar, and Azubike prayed for him. He went around prophesying and even healing the sick. Everyone wanted to know him and where his church was. As the church closed, Azubike's praise were on the lips of everyone. "Did you see the young pastor? He is fire," said Ugo, a young woman who was a church member. "My dear, he is indeed fire. God is really using him. See the way he was prophesying and healing people. Hey, I have never seen such miracles face to face. I will look for his church. That is where I want to be attending Sunday services from now on," said Clara. "My dear, I can't wait. Oh, maybe God will connect me to him and he will choose me as his missing rib." Ugo blushed. "What are you saying? You and I, who is more beautiful? I think he will choose me," Clara replied. "Let's not argue. When the time comes, we will know," they laughed as they walked home. As many other people who were in the service talked about his wonderful performance. When the cult heard about the latest news, they knew their plan was already in motion for success. The chief bought a very big building in the heart of the city, and within a few days, Azubike's face was all over the internet, as well as the address of his church. The next Sunday, the crowd that pulled into the church was unexpected. Everyone wanted a miracle in their lives, and they would not sleep on this wonderful opportunity for them to experience God's work firsthand. Once again, Azubike started singing, dancing, and praying in tongues. Then after, he began to prophesy as the crowd cheered. How did he know all these, they wondered. "Oh Lord, please, let him see me and prophesy to me. Oh Lord, I want him to pray for me to get married this year. Oh God, I need a financial blessing this year. said different people in their hearts. After his prophesying service, he told the church that his master had laid in his spirit for him to lay his hand on the head of everyone. Immediately, everyone queued up. Azubike laid hands on their heads one after the other and prayed. Some of them felt something leaving their body, but they assumed it was their bad luck, sicknesses, and infirmities leaving them. But little did they know. As he touched his ringed finger on their heads, their stars and destinies had left them. As the crowd increased, there were different departments that were formed by the church. Azubike, deep in sin and iniquity, now had the urge to do more evil things as the days went by. He would sleep with his choristers and told them to keep it a secret. Some women who came to him for fertility problems, he would sleep with them and tell them that his seeds are pure and that they will get pregnant in a short time. With his big contribution to the cult, the chief was impressed and even upgraded his rank in the occultic world. Not long, Azubike's parents heard of his fame and pastoral calling. When did this happen? Why didn't he tell us about his gift? His mother thought. Azubike called them a week before and he didn't mention anything about that. Well, I will call him and ask him. Hello, Mama. Good morning, Ma. How are you doing? Azubike, when did you start lying to us, your parents? Someone told me that you are now a big pastor in the city, she said, not responding to his greeting. Yes, Mama. I attended a crusade a few months ago, and the pastor prophesied to me that I will be a big man of God. Right now, I am in the wilderness praying. I am sorry you found out from someone that was not me. I was planning to come and visit, but I am always praying in the mountain. I will visit you and Papa next week, he said. Okay, I have always known you have the gift of God in you, and I am thankful that it is manifesting in your life, she said happily. Yes, Mama. See you later. I need to return to my prayers, he said, ending the call. Babe, the lies coming out from your mouth are enough to kill somebody. You are praying in the mountain, said the beautiful girl on his bed. Yes, of course. Your body is the mountain, he laughed as they began to get intimate. Azubike prepared and traveled the next week as he had promised his mother. He made sure to dress in normal clothes and also took a smaller car. My son is back, my son is back, his mother sang happily. He hugged his mother and father. He bought them many nice things. As they ate, they talked and laughed together as a family. When it was time to leave, Azubike bid his parents farewell, but his mother rushed and took his hand and placed on her head and told him to pray for her. Horror was evident in Azubike's eyes. His ringed finger was on his mother's head. What will happen to her? He panicked. My son, you don't want to pray for your mother? She asked. It's not that, mother. He closed his eyes and muttered some words, and then he smiled at her. As he drove back to the city, he could not help but feel scared. He knew what happened to the other people at the church, but he doesn't care about those people. Azubike continued with his lifestyle with numerous women, church ministrations, and his occultic activities. Ikedi was happy with him in particular, and because of this, he blessed him greatly. Until one day, he received a call from his father, who was crying. Papa, what is it? He asked with a panicked voice. Your mother is dead. He dropped the news. No, but Mama was healthy when I visited the village 2 weeks ago. What happened? He asked. My son, I don't know. She had just prepared dinner and we were about to eat when she left to get drinking water. That was how she slumped and took her last breath. "Oh my, what is this?" he cried. "I will see you soon, Papa," he said, ending the call. He knew what had happened to her. Ikedi had taken her life. Anger surged through his body as he drove to the chief's house. When the chief saw him, he became bothered. "Son, why is your mood like this?" he asked. "Ikedi," Azubike shouted as he cried. "Lower your voice. Come, let's talk inside," he said. "No, I won't." "Ikedi, you powerless gods, I served you. I served you diligently, but you hurt me. You took my mother. Come and take me too," he cried. "Come and show yourself," he shouted. "Look here, Azubike. I am sorry that this happened to you, but you must respect our great Ikedi. He has blessed you with wealth and affluence, just like you have always wanted. Please do not provoke him." "I will do however I please," he said as he drove out of the house, filled with rage and bitterness. Azubike did not know when he drove into a tree, smashing his car. Luckily for him, there were other people along the path and he was quickly rushed to the hospital. Azubike spent 5 days in coma due to his serious head injury. When he woke up, he was met with bright light and the white walls of the hospital room. "Where am I? Am I dead?" he asked himself. A very beautiful young woman in her nurse attire soon came into the room. Her beauty was unlike any other he had ever seen. She smiled brightly at him. "You are awake," she said. "So I am not dead?" he asked with a cracked voice and disappointment in his face. "Wow, you wished you were dead?" she asked him. "There is nothing to live for," he said again. "Life is beautiful. So don't say that," she smiled at him. She seemed like a kind and lovely person, and she seemed to smile very often. For a split moment, he imagined if she was his, she would fill his life with happiness. For once he wished he could leave the cult. Maybe it was possible to denounce it, he thought. As the days went, Azubike and the nurse, whose name happened to be Abigail, grew close. She would bring him home-made lunch, and she would spend her free time with him. They were gradually falling in love with each other. Soon, it was time for him to be discharged. As soon as he was discharged from the hospital, he found his way to the chief's house. "Oh, Azubike, it's been a while. Hope you have asked Ikedi for forgiveness," he asked. "Forgiveness? What for?" "Forgiveness for killing my mother? I will never. In fact, I have come to denounce every connection with Ikedi. I hate ever knowing you, Chief. I wished I had spent more time thinking about your offer. You cunning bastard." He removed the ring and threw it on the floor. Chief didn't say a word. He only laughed hysterically. He thought that as he had given the ring back, he had been free. He stopped going to church and parties and sleeping with girls. He pursued Abigail and she agreed to date him. They began to date each other and soon Abigail came to live with him. And while she was doing that, they were having intimate relationship. Azubike loved her so much. They fit each other like a puzzle. Everything was cool and Azubike thought that he was finally free. That was when something really bad happened. Abigail would vomit blood every day. They had done series of tests, but there was no medical cause of it. Ikedi, Azubike thought. He went to the chief's house once again. This time, he went to Ikedi's temple. As he began to smash and destroy things, soon the chief came inside and saw what he was doing. "Stop this foolishness right now," he scolded. "I will pull this place down," Azubike shouted angrily. "Oh God of heaven," he called, "even if it's the last thing I do, please come and destroy. Send your fire," he prayed. As he did, his body vibrated with something strange, and the whole building began to shake. He called on God, and he answered. The temple burned into ashes. Just when Azubike thought he was free to leave, the building collapsed on him and the chief. Some of the workers were lucky to escape unhurt. The other occultic members were also affected in one way or the other. Abigail was well again, but she was never able to bear any children, all through her lifetime, solely because Azubike's body was also the temple of Ikedi, with or without the ring. When the devil gives, it gives one and takes all from you. When it serves with a golden package that will be so enticing you will not be able to reject. When eating with the devil, use a long spoon. In my own understanding, you should be careful of the offers you accept. If possible, think and think again. Don't be quick to sign off your life because of wealth and fame that you might not live long enough to enjoy. This story is not to discourage anyone from attending church, but you should be careful of the places you enter and the people you allow to touch you on your head. I have had my own fair share of prophetic churches, and I can say that many of them are fake. Some are just there for the money and the fame. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you in our next one. Bye.